Hi, I'm here with the city manager, Larry Arf, this morning, and Larry's going to give us an update on the city and what's been happening in 2011 and look forward to the exciting things that are happening in the city of Beloit in 2012. And so, Larry, I'd like to welcome you. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you very much, Beth. It's always a pleasure to join you on Beloit today. And we do have a number of interesting projects and activities that were undertaken in the city last year. A lot of that work is continuing forward into 2012.
Could you tell our residents, let's just kind of go back to 2011 and talk about what's sort of the state of the city, generally speaking, the budget's passed, where are we now, and then we can get into some of the things to look forward to.
Yeah, I don't think you can talk about 2011 without talking about bad news. We've all heard and read in the paper last spring, we received an anonymous complaint. We acted on that. We initiated an internal investigation. We found possible criminal conduct, referred that to the police department. The FBI was ultimately brought in. We discovered we had a significant case where we had an employee in the Water Resources Division of Public Works that had been systematically stealing products and supplies and materials from the city, apparently over a number of years. It was one of the most serious cases of public misconduct that I've ever personally experienced. The individual, of course, was terminated immediately. He's in federal custody now awaiting trial. So the case did, and the prosecution has progressed. And obviously, we don't know what the ultimate outcome will be. So that was a very much a downer to kick the year off. And then, of course, following that, almost immediately, we started into the 2012 budget preparation process, which, of course, was the most difficult budget in the city's modern history. We had a significant cost increases for things like employee health care, motor fuel costs, and et cetera, that had to be accounted for within the general fund. At the same time, we had a significant loss of revenue. So the only way to balance that budget was to make cuts on a fairly broad scale. We decided upon, and ultimately council approved, a proportional approach where we spread those reductions across all of the departments and activities that were a part of the city's general fund. Average cuts were 5.5% to 6% across all the departments. They're significant, but I think the positive thing at the end of the day is that all of the city's services, all of the facilities, recreation, leisure service programs, which are such an important part of the quality of life here in Beloit, all of those were preserved during that budget preparation process. So as painful as it was, and still is in some respects, it is complete. We have implemented most of the changes now that were required for 2012, and the city is moving forward. Clearly there's been some changes in service level.
Sure.
However, we're hopeful that those will be transparent to the public, and people will not directly experience any service reduction as a result of those changes.
And I know that you and the council, I mean, we had lots and lots of meetings. We did not take this lightly. It was...
Yes, the council took ownership of this budget, I think more so than they have in my tenure here as city manager. They put a lot of time and effort in. There were a lot of public meetings and town hall meetings and of course the formal public hearing. They listened to employee groups. They listened to citizens. They again tried to make this very difficult decision in a way to kind of spread the pain across the entire corporation, to minimize having to close facilities or eliminate any service categories. And so I think from that perspective, looking at the depths of the cuts that were required to balance the budget, they did a good job, and I think the community has the best budget that they could have gotten under the circumstances. So we're feeling good about it. We're moving forward with implementation. As they say, we're hopeful that the cuts and the service changes that are going to be necessitated will be relatively transparent from the public's perspective.
Sure. Now, you're talking about transparency with the public. I know that there are some things that have been, actually a lot of things that have happened in the city in the last year that the residents can see as they drive through town. And so if we can switch gears and talk about something a little bit more positive. I know that we have a lot of things in the city that are coming up, a lot of new developments, projects, businesses growing. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the things that have happened in the city in the last year?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting facts about Beloit in 2011 was that despite the criminal conduct, despite the very difficult budget cycle, There were really a lot of interesting, neat things that were happening in the city, not only in terms of public infrastructure, but also in terms of business growth and expansion. Despite continued weakness in the regional and national economy, we had a very fortuitous year when it came to local companies expanding and putting building additions up and new companies locating to the community. So why don't we start and walk through some of this stuff?
Sure.
There was a lot of neat things going on in the community. And let's start, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the infrastructure upgrades and the things that happened. Folks are able to see this at home on the screen, so I'm not going to reiterate all the bullet points that are on these slides, but we dedicated the bike path that's located along the east side of the Rock River in memory of Steve Gregg, your predecessor, former assistant manager who passed away suddenly in 2010. And this dedication not only recognizes Steve's legacy, but it also helps us by marking the path and helping bike riders and pedestrians that want to follow the path to get underneath the Portland Avenue Bridge, for example, and to use the path safely. So there was some real value add here for the community as well as doing this memorial. And then, of course, another opportunity that came our way this year was the I-3990 Visitor Center. Stephanie Klett now is the Secretary of Tourism for the state of Wisconsin, and she certainly remembered her roots in Beloit and was very, very helpful in creating a situation that made it financially possible for the local Visitors and Convention Bureau here in Beloit to occupy the space. So we are running the Visitor Center on the interstate along with the one downtown, and we have one at Cornelia's
And this
store.
is great. I mean, we always say we're the gateway to Wisconsin, and to have that closed.
Yeah, to have that closed didn't make any sense for anybody in Wisconsin, and certainly getting it reopened and having it staffed by Beloit volunteers and Convention Visitors Bureau staff is very significant because we have a direct opportunity to talk to people as they're coming to visit and wanting to get information about places to stay and places to visit while
And
they're
I
in
think
the
Visit
state.
Beloit is intense. I mean, they're going out there, they're filling the pamphlets, and I mean,
Yes, they're doing a
they're
great
really
job.
stepping up.
And there's a lot of visitations there, as you might imagine. Again, Beloit is one of the key gateways to the state of Wisconsin, and so what a great opportunity for us to have a chance to welcome all of those visitors that come up the I-3990 corridor. Renewable energy, been very, very significant to the city. We're an eco municipality and have been for many years. We have a comprehensive, sustainable program underway. We did a study looking at alternative energies about a year and a half ago. Actually came up with 4 different alternatives. Only one of those seemed to make sense for implementation, and that was the solar energy project at City Hall. We're saving about 8% of our annual energy demands, and of course that's based on current pricing. And we don't know what the savings will be in the future over the next 30, 40 years as energy prices continue to increase and fossil fuel costs continue to go up. This is one of the ways we're helping to keep not only our costs down, but also minimize our carbon footprint. And it's a very positive project for the city. It's clearly a demonstration project. We clearly are not going to be doing this on all the city facilities
Sure.
at this time because the economics don't work as well as we would like. But it's still important that the city and certainly many of our major corporations have stepped up and they're doing demonstration, environmentally positive projects to help get some of these technologies developed and to help position us for the future when energy costs do increase.
And with the solar panels, I know last week I posted, there's a link on our website where residents can click on a link to go to a website and see in real time how much energy is being created by the solar panels. And then
Great.
once a month we get updates. I think just yesterday, it wasn't a full month, but just yesterday we got an update and it tells you how many how many kilowatts you've created and essentially how much money you've saved if you spend this much money per kilowatt. So I'm excited to see, and we'll be sure to share that with the public as it becomes available.
Yeah, and I think like private companies, municipalities and other governmental entities that stay on the cutting edge of sustainability development will end up serving their residents well long term and helping to get these technologies perfected and obviously get costs down for some of these things so they can be used in more applications. Neighborhood stabilization continues. We got a second phase of funding for this by way of update. This is the program. This is 100% federally funded, and it's to help cities deal with foreclosed properties. We bought a number of foreclosed properties under the original program. Some that were in bad shape were demoed. Those that were not were remodeled. We still have the 4 for sale that are shown on the screen here. And if anyone's interested in a very, very nice, very attractively priced home that's been completely remodeled inside and out, they might want to take a look at these. And we've got some more coming online from the second phase of the project, which started this past summer as well. Public housing remodeling, big project, good timing on this. We were able to do a lot of this in the 2010 and 2011 time frames when pricing was good, bids were good. We got tax credits. This is all 100% funded with federal tax credits and grants. So there's no local money in this project at all. About the first phase is done. About half the units have been remodeled inside and out. Energy efficiency, again, was a big part of what we wanted to accomplish here, updating all of these buildings. The second half of the units are under construction as we speak, and most of that work will be done by this fall. And we'll have all of our public housing units remodeled inside and out, and hopefully in good order for the next 30 years of use.
And we've toured these sites. They're beautiful on the inside.
Yes.
It's not what it's not what people used to think about public housing. It's not cinder block. These are nice homes.
No, these are nice homes. They're not opulent in any way. They're very basic on the insides, but they're very sound. The construction was specifically spec'd out for we'll call it somewhat of a harder use that often public housing is subjected to, but they're very solid, very comfortable for our residents that live there. And so we're very pleased with the outcome of this project. And I want to hasten to add that we added a lot of jobs, particularly in the construction industry in 2010 and 2011 when the private sector was struggling, and we kept a lot of contractors and a lot of tradesmen busy over the last couple years that would have been laid off if the city wasn't in a position to mobilize those resources and make those improvements on a timely basis. Mm-hmm. Let's look at some of our public infrastructure. A lot of projects went on this year.
We've had a lot of construction, that's for sure.
Most of it was downtown, and that's no accident. A number of these projects have been in planning for the last 2 or 3 years, so they didn't spring up over the winter. But of course, they were timed with the completion of the expenditure period for the TIF district downtown. All of these improvements were funded through the TIF district. We do not use general purpose tax revenue for any of this work in the downtown area. And of course, the slide that's up now shows the new brick street on State Street with the bump outs, which narrowed down the crosswalks, made the downtown area far safer and far more pedestrian friendly. We added some landscaping, generally upgraded the look. The gantry treatment was added at the intersection of State and Grand. That in effect was a vacant lot that fronts onto the parking that goes on behind the buildings at that location. This is another piece of very significant heritage art. It was designed with a gray metal industrial look intentionally, again to commemorate the city's heavy industrial past. And of course, this was intentionally placed at what we refer to as the terminating vista, right in the heart of downtown, and placed, of course, to be an additional piece of heritage art, what you see going up and down the Rock River.
And without getting too deep into it, there's been a lot of questions about the TIF district. Can you just briefly describe that this is not money that could be spent on staffing? Can you explain a little bit about the money, that the money comes from the downtown business?
Yeah, there's always some confusion about projects and capital expenditures that the city makes, and whether if we weren't doing these improvements, we could simply transfer all that money into the general fund and use it for salaries and operating expenses. And of course, the short answer is you cannot. Funds that are set aside, reserved by law in these special funds for infrastructure improvements are restricted in terms of their use. So TIF funds, for example, can only be used within or immediately around the TIF boundaries, and only for certain prescribed purposes. It has to be a physical infrastructure improvement or some incentive program in support of businesses. You can use it for things like facade grants, which we've done in the downtown area, but you cannot take that money and put it into any other fund or even use it in any other portion of the community. So those funds are restricted in terms of not only their use, but also the
And the money has to be spent in the district.
In the district or immediately around it. The state statute does allow some overflow, but again, you're restricted to the types of uses. You cannot use TIF funds for public facilities or salaries or other kinds of operating expenses. And again, one of the reasons all these improvements clustered this past year was we have the expenditure deadline on September 1st of 2012. So after that date, we will have no funds available for more improvements in downtown. So So people are seeing a huge cluster of work going on this year. We have a few smaller projects left over we're going to finish this summer, and then that will be it. And downtown will not have funds available, certainly for a number of years. So once we're done, we're done.
And we can talk about this later, but it's paid off. The investment's paid off. The
Yes.
downtown is getting accolades nationally.
Been getting national awards. We've been getting more tenancies coming in. We've got more development projects underway. We had several facade renovations this year. We had some business relocations this year, growing and using larger buildings. So yes, I think it definitely is paying off. It certainly has paid off in terms of that wow factor. When people come to visit, we get accolades, and we've had people write letters to the paper about how impressed they were with our cute, historic downtown, and how nice it was and how happy they were to be in that space. So I think it pays off for everyone in the
And from
community.
what I understand, some of our neighboring communities are jealous of our downtown.
Yeah, there are a lot of communities that come in and they ask about how we've been able to make that much progress, and it's been great. The DBA, the Downtown Business Association, deserves a big chunk of the credit. They've done a lot of the work and a lot of the heavy lifting. The gantry project was essentially their project. They developed that with some outside consulting services, and so they've done a lot of that work downtown. They put together and administer the facade renovation program. They've done a lot of architectural renderings and what have you to help local property owners get a flavor for what they're able to do with their buildings. So I want to be sure we give Kathleen Bratz and the DBA board
Absolutely.
Credit for the bulk of the heavy lifting in the downtown area.
Yes, that's great.
Let's move on here. I'm going to run through these very quickly. All
Sure.
of these streets are in the downtown area, and these were all done as part of the reconstruction to finish up these roads, most of which I think we would call secondaries that weren't part of the Broad Street, Grand Street, 212, 81, or 51 earlier reconstruction projects. And again, we wanted to get all of these done before that expenditure period came to a close, because we were able to make all of these improvements out of the TIP district, again, without using any general purpose revenue from the city for these improvements. Cranston Road on the east side of the city, this is south of Milwaukee, was rebuilt this year as well. And once again, this was all paid for with TIP incremental revenue from TID 13, which is the TIP district for the Milwaukee Road Commercial Corridor. So once again, no general purpose tax money was used. We widened the road slightly, put bike lanes on it, lighting, more landscaping will be coming in the spring. They'll be finishing the restoration. And this was, again, a very deteriorated stretch of the road that needed upgrading.
Yes.
This was the last major road project, too, in the entire I-90 industrial park, for residents that have been over in that area. Over the last 3 or 4 years, we've had to rebuild, resurface all of those roads. They were all getting in bad shape because of their age, and this was the last road in that industrial area that needed to be redone. The Henry Avenue Bridge, soon to become the Ken Hendricks Memorial Bridge. This is the big project that's still ongoing in the city. This was a big chunk of the 2012 capital budget as well. And the reconstruction project began last fall, will continue until around September 1st of 2012. So the bridge will be closed for a full year. Hopefully the contractor will stay on schedule, and we'll have a nice ribbon cutting there in the spring. We also have a companion project underway now to make some improvements to the north end of Riverside Park, put in a nice entry treatment, a sign up there. The design elements will be similar to what we've used in the south end of the park, and that will also be dedicated in conjunction with the bridge, again, hopefully around the Labor Day weekend.
And Pam and I have interviewed Mike Flesch and Luke Arnold about the construction projects downtown. Can you just confirm for the residents that any of the construction done on Riverside is not going to be redone? The construction on Riverside was done in conjunction with the plan for the Henry Avenue Bridge.
Yes, that's correct. Not only Riverside Drive was constructed in conjunction with the planning for the bridge, we also installed a water main that came down Henry Avenue, crossed Riverside. That was also done in coordination with the Riverside Drive project. The bridge construction project actually terminates about 150 feet west of the intersection, is where the new 4 lanes will tie in on Henry Avenue. So there will be no interference at all with the road. In fact, we intentionally scheduled this so that Riverside Drive would be done first, so that when we close the bridge, we'd have the new road there for taking the traffic down to Portland Avenue.
Okay, great.
All right, looks like we're burning up more time here than we thought. I'm just going to hit some of this stuff quickly. Utility improvements, these are all basically done now. We're in the final stages. The settlement ponds restoration is finalized, and the improvements over at the wastewater treatment facility are done. They're kind of in testing and preliminary startup on those. Economic development. I do want to cover this quickly. This is really important. We've had a lot of activity in the city this year, an incredible amount of development, new jobs created. This is Fat Wallet, the internet coupon company. They came downtown, took that most of the space in the city-owned building at 100 East Grand. 54 new jobs created downtown. This is Kettle Foods, 45,000 square feet, doubled production capacity, 100 new jobs created. This is the Alliance Development Warehouse. This was done in conjunction with Kettle. 110,000 square feet of building, 20 new jobs. Janine Core, 128,000 square feet of new production capacity. Only created 3 new jobs, but this was a major commitment by Janine Core in the Beloit facility. And the residents will recall about 4 years ago, Janine Core seriously looked at closing this facility. So we were very pleased to see them approach the city about a major expansion like this, which of course underscores their commitment to keep the Beloit location. Northstar Medical radioisotope, new high-tech medical technology firm. They're coming to Beloit. They'll be up in actually just north of the Gateway Business Park on Gateway Boulevard. 82,000 square feet. They're going to have 150 jobs on that facility by 2016, spending close to $200 million. This is a brand new radioisotope technology. These radioisotopes are used in medical imaging and will be shipped all over the United States and probably eventually all over the world. So we're very excited about welcoming this firm to Beloit.
And more information on that will be available as they roll out. I know construction hasn't started yet.
Construction won't start on that project probably until June. They're in the permitting process as we speak, and more information will be made available. The Cary Customer Center also, this was huge. Another almost 30,000 square foot addition. They're moving a lot of their administrative and office operations to this new wing, and then they're going to put in more research and development type facilities and product development type operations in the space that's being vacated. So this is also exciting. 47 new jobs created. And then we've got the Woodmans warehouse, 32,000 square feet. The ever-growing and very successful Woodmans supermarket chain is serviced from this facility. Very, very pleased to see, again, their commitment and growth and expansion at the Beloit location. The Morris Group, this is the big electrical contractor, design firm and contractor doing a 25,000 square foot addition. This was the first building in the Gateway Business Park. Tilly's Pizza at the corner of 4th and Portland, huge investment, 5,000 square foot new building. It's under construction as we speak. When that opens, the old building will be demolished, the parking lot will be expanded and completed. This is a tremendous commitment to the city, and we are very appreciative of the Tilly family's commitment to the community and to that neighborhood.
Is there, and before we move on, is there any other, I think we just released some important information yesterday about a proposed development in the city of
Let me talk quickly about the casino, because believe it or not, we are about done, and they haven't grabbed us yet with the hook. The casino development is back alive. The Ho-Chunk Nation purchased the original casino site after the Chippewa tribe's application had been rejected by the federal government. The Ho-Chunk Nation has been working somewhat behind the scenes over the last couple years, working with the federal government, putting together plan modifications and amendments that are needed to prepare a new application. And over the last several months, we've had a pretty good dialogue off and on, including a number of meetings and a lot of email traffic about doing a new intergovernmental agreement for this new project. Mm-hmm. We shared the final draft or a draft of that with council the other night. They had a lot of questions and some changes they wanted to make, but they did authorize us to invite the Ho-Chunk Nation in to present their project. And we're going to be doing that. There are going to be upcoming employee meetings, or meetings with residents, including a public hearing on the 17th of January as part of our regular scheduled meeting. And we'd certainly like to invite the residents to come out, review the IGA, and to take a look at the project, and to make any comments, ask any questions they have. But I think it's an exciting opportunity. The casino project certainly has been reactivated as a result of this process. It's a long and arduous review under the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, so merely developing a new intergovernmental agreement and filing the application is no guarantee that will ultimately be approved, but at least the project is back alive and it's moving forward. And as I've said before, this would be a huge paradigm shift. We're talking about a great many jobs here. This is not a 50-job kind of an operation.
Right, this is a huge.
It's huge. It would be in the thousands, and not to mention the value of the construction and all of the ancillary contracts and the economic impact as this money floated through the local and regional economy. So this is a project that could have significant positive economic impact for the entire region.
Well, thank you for sharing all of this with us. It's exciting to see that there's some successful things happening and our business community is thriving in the city. We're hopeful that things will look up. Before we go, I just want to mention that in addition to all the businesses that have been growing, there were 2 awards that the city were finalists for. The city was a finalist for the All-America City Award, and we went to the competition in June. We didn't end up coming home with the award, but it's a very prestigious award, and it's exciting to meet. We met members of other communities that are also doing amazing things, and so that was exciting for the city to be recognized on a national level. And then also the downtown business, the downtown won a Main Street Award, a national Main Street Award that you can only win once, and the city of Beloit's just thrilled to be recognized. Larry talked about all of the things that have happened downtown, and I know that the DBA is thrilled to get this award, and so we have a lot to be proud of. And despite the economy, it looks like things are looking up for the city of Beloit.
Yes, they are. Again, despite the bad news year, there were a lot of really positive things happening, and hopefully that speaks well for 2012. We're hoping that the economy will continue to grow. A lot of these business expansion projects will be completed this year, and the jobs will start to come online. So we're cautiously optimistic about 2012.
Well, thank you, Larry. Thank you for coming.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Beth. Thank you for having me.
That was the business end of the show. That was very informative and entertaining. I'm glad that Larry was able to be on our show today.
I'm too. I'm glad he presents well, and he knows a lot more information than we do. So I'm glad he could share with the community all the wonderful things that are happening.
Yes, there's a lot to look forward to. And speaking of that, we don't have a lot of time left, but we did want to say a little bit about Winterfest that's coming up. There's actually going to be a Winterfest volleyball tournament. And the entries are due the 25th of this month. So people still have time to get in the volleyball tournament.
And if they're interested in Winterfest, they can go to the website, or you can always stop in Parks and Leisure Services. They love visitors. It's on the corner of Pleasant and Portland, or Riverside, Pleasant, and Portland. So yes, I know they're gearing up. We just got an email the other day, and so that's always exciting. I was looking forward to the snowshoe event on the 30th, and it was canceled because we don't have any snow yet.
I know, but on the other hand, guess what they're doing? We can't snowshoe, but we can golf.
That's right. I heard that. So the weather's beautiful, and so Kruger Haskell Golf Course, it's January, and they will open any day in January where the weather report is forecasting 45 degrees or warmer. If there's a light at the end of the tunnel, we don't have snow for snowshoeing, but if you are an avid golfer, please call the golf course in the morning. And if they're open, you can golf the front 9, no golf carts. Certainly they won't compromise the golf course, but that was the funniest email. I have never heard of that.
No, not in January. I'm sure there'll probably be some motorcycle enthusiasts out also, but enjoy it while we can, and hopefully we get a little bit of snow for Winterfest. They have horse-drawn sleigh rides planned, and they have snowshoeing and skiing planned. So I do hope we get a little snow, and I know a lot of children hope we do too.
Yes, and if you are still looking for some winter activities, I know that Edwards Ice Arena is open for open skate, I think on Fridays and Saturdays. It's available on their website. If you're interested, you can get on the mailing list through Parks and Leisure Services. And I know that that's been successful. They also have, if you have children, they have open skate on days that the school's out or has early release. So look for those dates too. So if you're children are bored and say there's nothing to do. There's things to do in the city of Beloit.
Absolutely. And just looking forward quickly to February, there's a great big event coming up in February.
There is BIF, Beloit International Film Festival, will take place in February as always. I love to see the people that come into town. There's all, you can go out to eat downtown and meet some very interesting people with amazing talent. So I know
Yes.
you and I volunteer. We volunteered
Yes.
last year, and we always look forward to that. And it sounds like they might have their own show.
I think that they will have a little segment coming up in the month or later in January or early in February, but also they do have a website, so just look up the Beloit International Film Festival, and there's a lot of information and volunteer opportunities on their website. So.
And I know that they're having some kickoff events. So in January, they're starting to get the ball rolling. So if you're interested, please check their website because things are happening very quickly.
Yes. So I guess that wraps up another show. They're giving us the 1 minute mark here. So.
That's right. So Happy New Year. We've been having shows. This was an easy show, just having one guest. But Happy New Year, and please participate in events that are happening in the city.
Yes. Happy New Year.